Hello, my name is Dick Wallace, and I'm president of the Community Youth Activities Organization, a nonprofit operating primarily out of Alton, New Hampshire. Today, what I'd like to do is talk a little bit with you and this group of people with me about risky behaviors by our youth and to some extent by adults too. The information is provided for the Alton community as a result of an initiative that we began some time back, collaborating with the Alton Chief of Police and the Regional Network Coordinator for Partners in Prevention, a Belknap County organization and working in the Alton area and other areas. The mission of this initiative is to inform and educate our community, especially parents and youth too, about risky behaviors and that the youth might begin to use and the adverse effect that they may have on the safety of our families in the community. And risky behavior, by the way, can be both by youth or adults and is likely to result in physical, mental, or emotional problems to either the individual and or people, or it is illegal perhaps. A goal of this initiative is to provide educational information and updates to our community that concerns risky behaviors by our youth and provide tips for parents. This is very important. Tips for parents to help them address these issues within the family. We plan to provide updates on a continuing basis to keep our community not just updated but aware of these types of social issues. The types of risky behavior is next, and I'd like to introduce our Chief Heath from Alton, and Tracy Fowler, who is the Regional Coordinator for Partners in Prevention for us. And they will be talking to you, as well as I, about what is risky behavior and what parents can do about that. And now Tracy, please talk to us about substance abuse.
Thank you, Dick. Glad to be here. So, substance abuse is a very serious issue in the community of Alton and in New Hampshire in general. And many of our youth turn to substance abuse to cope with things like stress, anxiety, depression, and feeling that they don't have a social status that they would want. The common substances abused in our community are alcohol, marijuana, and the non-medical use of prescription drugs. And these are currently the three biggest issues in our area. And the increase in the non-medical use of prescription drugs is particularly alarming. Students will sell, trade, and give away their own medication or medications they take from family members in order to either get money and or just be trading these things for recreational use. It's important to note the patterns. Patterns of substance abuse are not necessarily the same in youth as they are in adults. Many adolescents who become hooked or are not hooked on one particular drug, but they may be using multiple substances instead and mixing substances, which can often be very dangerous. There are three different categories of substance abuse and use that I wanted to talk about. The first one is substance use, and this is the occasional use of alcohol or other drugs without developing a tolerance or without experiencing withdrawal symptoms when you've stopped the substance. The second category is abuse, which is it's starting to become very serious when you reach this layer. And this is the continued use of alcohol or other drugs, even while knowing that the continued use is creating serious problems socially, physically, or psychologically. And finally, the third layer is dependence, which there has to be at least three of the following factors present in order for someone to have a substance abuse dependency. The first one is that the person is using the substance longer than they intended. The second is that a persistent desire with unsuccessful efforts to control use, meaning they can't stop. The third would be large periods of time spent obtaining, taking, or recovering from the substance. The fourth is frequent periods of intoxication, especially when social and major role obligations are expected. So school responsibilities, social situations, family responsibilities, etc. Next would be continued use, even while knowing that the continued use is creating problems socially, physically, or psychologically. Then we'll see increased tolerance. Withdrawal symptoms may start to appear when the person tries to stop. And there may also become the issue of taking a substance to help deal with their withdrawal symptoms. So what can parents do about substance abuse? It's a very scary issue. And I think we talked a lot about it all throughout this segment. And the biggest piece is talking to your teens, keeping communication open. And also it's important to note some of the signs and symptoms that you may notice with your teen, such as sudden personality changes that include abrupt changes in work or school attendance, quality of work, work output, grades, how often you need to discipline them, unusual flare-ups or outbreaks of temper, withdrawal from responsibility, general changes in overall attitude, loss of interest in what were once favorite hobbies, changes in friends, and reluctance to have friends visit to the house and or talk about them, difficulty concentrating, difficulty paying attention, nervousness, aggression, increased secretiveness and hiding things, deterioration of physical appearance, deterioration of grooming, continually wearing of long-sleeved garments, particularly in hot weather, or reluctance to wear short-sleeved attire when appropriate. That's most common if the use is around something where they're using needles or injecting, borrowing money from friends, family, workers, co-workers or parents, stealing items in order to get money, secretive behavior, and suspicious sort of trips they may be taking to storage rooms, restrooms, the basement, the garage. Different substances can lend themselves to different types of symptoms. The most glaring symptom in all cases is a change, and usually a radical one in behavior. Other physical signs of substance abuse are things like slurred speech, trouble with memory, trouble with coordination, difficulty paying attention. And it's really important, as I said earlier, just to talk with your kids and to talk with them on a daily basis and ask them questions about their activities and their routines, not in an aggressive way, but in a friendly, open communication way. And once you get to know your child's normal behavior, you'll be able to tell when there is a change in their behavior and in their pattern of behavior. I'd like to finish up by saying that available on the CYA website, there will be this booklet that's actually very helpful for parents, and it's called Growing Up Drug-Free, A Parent's Guide to Prevention. And this is something that's put out by the Department of Education Safe and Drug-Free Schools program. And you can get a hard copy, by contacting CYA. And it's very helpful. It runs through all of the information, and I think it's something that most parents should certainly look at. Thank you.